Okay, so this is officially our second day of mean absolute deviation because one day is not enough. But what we're also going to see today is different ways that they could ask us mean absolute deviation. So again, I'm going to repeat those steps. You can refer to the last video, but all the steps that I'm about to show you are literally listed out in verbatim, okay? So starting with number 1, we're going to go to Stat, Edit. We're going to type these values in. So again, remember you type each one in and hit Enter to get it on the table. If you mess up typing them in, you mess up the whole question, so be careful. We're going to go to Stat, to the right for Calc, number 1, and hit Enter 3 times. So what we've asked our calculator to do is find the mean, which was technically a 7th grade skill. And again, because it's repeating, we're going to show that putting a line over the 3. Now we're going to go to step 3, Stat, Edit. We're going to put our cursor on L2, so we're going to go to the right and up. If you don't put it on L2, it's going to mess up. Then we're going to click Math, over to Num, Abs. And if you remember from yesterday, always put second one minus, so L1 minus, the 29.8. But since the 3 is repeating, we have to put a bunch of 3s. Okay? Then we're going to go Stat, to the right for Calc, number 1. But this time, since it's the second time, we're going to change it to L2. And so my answer is also a repeating decimal. Okay, so I have to put the line on top. All right, let's repeat those steps. But again, after every question, we're going to reset, second plus 712. And I'm actually going to focus on the different types of ways they could ask. So if I look at number 4 instead of number 2, when they give me my list of table values, it's the same premise. So we're going to go to Stat, Edit. It doesn't matter the order in which I type the numbers in, as long as you don't forget any and as long as you don't repeat any that aren't repeated. So again, just make sure all 6 numbers are in the table. We're going to go to Stat, Calc 1, hit Enter 3 times. So again, we asked the calculator to find the mean for us, but that's not where 8th grade stops. We go to Stat, Edit, and again, I want to put my cursor on L2. Then we're going to click Math, Num, Abs. So Math is underneath Alpha. We're going to go to the right for Num, and we're going to use number 1 for Absolute. All it does is put bars around the values down here. Down here, you're always going to put second 1 minus, so L1 minus, and then that's where you type in the 44, hit Enter. You see a table values. Again, if you don't see the numbers pop up and it says error, that means you weren't on L2, so do that. If you see negatives, that means you didn't do Math, Num, Abs, okay? So then we're going to do Stat, Calc 1, but this time, since it's the second time, we're going to do L2. And so my answer is a repeating decimal. Anytime you see the value change at the very end, that's the calculator's way of rounding, so you just ignore it. It's just 6.6 repeating, okay? The hardest way I've seen it asked on a STAR test question is the mean absolute deviation given a dot plot. So you saw these more in 6th grade, maybe 7th grade a little bit, but a dot plot just tells you, the X values tell you what number you type in and how many times you type that number in. So for instance, you're going to type in a 0, a 10, you're going to type in 20 twice, you're going to type in 30 twice. So when I reset my calculator and I go to Stat, Edit, I'm going to type in 0, 10, 2 20s, and then 2 30s. If they don't have an X on top of the number, you don't include it. So just the ones that X's are represented. Then they're repeating the steps. So it's not harder, it's just a different way that they could ask. So we do Stat Calc 1. My mean is 18.3 repeating. So I have to show that by putting the bar. Then we're going to go to Stat, Edit. I'm going to put my cursor on L2. So make sure you go to the right and up. Math, over to Num, Abs. Down here, you're always going to put second 1 minus the 18.3, but since it's repeating, you have to put a bunch of 3s to show repeating. Hit Enter. You see numbers pop up. Stat, Calc 1, but since this is the second time we're doing it, we're going to change it to L2, and then you hit Enter 3 times. Again, just like the last question, even though it is repeating and the number drastically changes at the end, that's the calculator's way of rounding, so ignore it. It's just 8.8 repeating, okay? Now, if we had time, and I don't want this video to be super lengthy, if I look at number 6, this is the longest way they could ask. It says which set of data shows the greatest amount of variability around the mean? Fancy way of saying is which one has the largest MAD. So on this one, I would have to do it 4 times. I'd have to do set A, get an answer, set B, get an answer, set C, get an answer, set D, get an answer, and compare the 4, looking for the greatest. So that's just a tricky way of doing it. Again, anything I've referred to, I'm referring to the steps written out on your notes, but just slow down the video if it went a little too fast.